What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping in with some Destiny 2 news. Of course, we're inside of the weekend where the contest mode for the dungeon drops, so there's some interesting stuff to talk about there. Otherwise, Bungie also have a lot of updates regarding the game, new bugs and fixes, which will be coming up in the very near future. On top of that, in the video today, we'll talk about some hidden weapons. And there are a couple of interesting ones for sure. We'll also speak about the rollout of Heresy weapons, some that we'll get access to as part of season challenges, interesting new cosmetic items, which are totally brand new concepts for the game, marathon pre-order bonuses, which are hidden in Destiny 2 right now, which of course is pretty telling, and some other things to talk about today. So guys, if you enjoy this one, get subscribed to the channel as it really helps us out. Otherwise though, let's get going, and we'll start with the updates from Bungie. So they've just said, we're aware of an issue where standard, special, and heavy ammo bricks in PvE are giving 5 to 10% less ammo than intended. This doesn't affect ammo finder bricks and ammo from other sources, which are unchanged. So we're currently working on a fix planned for an upcoming update. Certainly something worth keeping in mind at the moment, as if you aren't running those sort of ammo mods, you'll be more affected by this, so worth taking note of that, and hopefully a fix will drop soon. Otherwise, D2 team also said the fleeting metastasized essentia earned by extracting materials in the Nether will be lost if you don't clear the active combat area that you're in. Complete all objectives, defeat the boss, and open the chest that spawns right after to transform the metastasized essentia to the version that will stay in the inventory. There's no need to complete an entire run of the Nether, although that's advised if you want to get the most rewards. So a bit of an explanation on exactly how that works. They're essentially only converted when we clear the current encounter. Otherwise, players have pointed out that Ionic Sentry doesn't appear to work with Electrostatic Mind, as well as grenade fragments and certain exotics. That is of course the new Warlock aspect, so Bungie Help on the forum said, "You're correct, there are indeed known issues affecting Ionic Sentry. These have been escalated to the team and are already being investigated." There are other issues affecting new fragments as well. D2 team pointed out that On the Prowl has a 1 second internal cooldown, and that can be adjusted in future if necessary. But additionally, the aspect is currently granting a small chunk of ability energy over the 7-second duration of each stack, instead of all at once. This is unintentional and will be fixed in a future patch. That said, the energy is fully awarded by the time that the buff runs out, so more of a timing issue on that one. And finally, players also pointed out Storm's Keep doesn't work with Arbor Warden. So Bungie have said they will issue a fix to make Storm's Keep aspect work with that exotic in a future update. So plenty of bugs as always, but at least Bungie are aware of them. Up next though, let's speak about the newest bit of content to drop this week, and of course, it's the new dungeons. So it was certainly one of the longer day one dungeons in terms of getting a first completion. My team have got halfway through contest and then did a normal run, I guess to sort of train up a bit. We'll see how that pans out the rest of the weekend. But Bungie did release some press images here of the new armor, so we get to see it in full detail. It's a very bizarre set. Not sure how much of a fan I am of this armor, but give us your thoughts below. Otherwise, in terms of weapons, there's the Trace Rifle, Unsworn. That's a strand adaptive frame trace. Then we have the Unvoiced, a pinpoint slug frame shotgun. That comes with void damage, as well as the Unworthy Scout Rifle, which is an arc rapid fire frame, and finally the Unloved, which is the hand cannon. Interestingly, that's a strand heavy burst. Don't know all of the perk rolls for him yet, but they seem somewhat interesting. The origin trait is pretty juicy though. It's Subjugation, where the weapon adapts to targets when dealing damage. To weak targets, shots explode. To strong targets, they'll become exhausted. And to Guardians, the weapon's flinch resistance increases. On top of that, exhausted targets deal reduced outgoing damage. So it is quite a strong perk. And otherwise, the exotic, as expected, based on the description, is pretty wild with the turret up in the sky, raining down fire on enemies. This clip from Soul was shared by Destiny Bulletin. And for general impressions of the dungeon, it's pretty fun actually playing through it. Quite a big fan of the mechanics, especially the final boss. Otherwise though, give us your thoughts down below if you've played it so far, any juicy rewards you've picked up, and general impressions. Next up though, I wanted to talk about a few other items, and we first have a hidden weapon. We'll be getting access to this in the near future. As you can see, it's got a hidden icon at the moment, but it's called the Kera Unios, which I may be butchering the title there, but it's a new arc trace rifle in an adaptive frame. And indeed, it is the weapon for Guardian Games this year. I'd almost entirely forgotten about Guardian games, to be honest. It normally drops in March, I think. Yes, the model is traced path, Bungie's favourite trace rifle model right there. But this will be the new event weapon for the year. And looking at the perks, in the first column it has Overflow, Hipfire Grip, Discord, and then Recycled Energy, where reloading after defeating targets grants energy to the lowest charged ability. But it can get Perfect Float, Dynamic Sway Reduction, and Eddy Current. Then in the second slot, it can get Detonator Beam, and dealing sustained damage creates an explosion around the target. So that's a new perk which is interesting. Plus it can get Rolling Storm, and Final Blows will grant Bolt Charge. Then there's Killing Tally, Jolting Feedback, Closing Time, Harmony, and Killing Wind. So some interesting perks on this. Very curious about Detonator Beam. That is a new Trace Rifle exclusive perk, currently reserved for Arc Trace Rifles. There's actually one other trace that we'll get this episode, which is Warlord Spear, and that's the Arc Iron Banner Trace Rifle. It has quite a few similar roles actually. Dynamic Sway, Envious Assassin, High Impact Reserves, Rewind Rounds, Hipfire Grip, and Loose Change in the first slot, but the second slot can get Desperate Measures, Killing Tally, Jolting Feedback, Target Lock, plus there's fourth times the Charm and Detonator Beam once again. Although the model for this one is at least slightly different, so I'll be curious to try those out, and let me know down below if you're looking forward to them. In terms of Heresy content though, over the weekly resets, we will get more quest steps next week with story elements, and it looks like the first 3 weeks of the episode are where we get the additional story steps. There'll be a couple of missions coming up on the Dreadnought with bespoke storytelling in the next couple of weeks, which is nice. Then looking at challenges, weekly challenges as always will include the weekly story steps. For the Heresy weapons though, we can actually get shiny drops from the weekly challenges. So this week we got the sword. For the next reset, we'll have the machine gun feature, the Watchful Eye. This will drop Masterworked with an additional origin trait. It lists 10,000 submachine gun kills, or points right there, as episode Heresy activities will grant bonus progress, so don't know if it'll be retroactive for the season. Could take a little while, but it's guaranteed reward at least. Also interesting, next week we'll get another one of the Curio of the 9 items from the Frozen Weave challenge, and players are hanging on to see what those items will actually do. I will of course keep you posted when we get details about that, and with all of the reset stuff in a couple of days, but last couple of mentions here. Firstly, some interesting new consumable items from Eververse, and there's something called Ardent Adoration, and once purchased for silver, you may claim this item again from collections. And it points out this visual effect is suppressed while in combat, so it almost seems to be a glow or a hologram that may be able to be attached to our characters. And additionally, there's an item called the Hollow Chip Extractor, which allows us to actually remove the effect from our player. That's literally all we know about it for now, but seems like we could get some interesting cosmetic options coming up at some point during this episode. Let us know if you have any leads or ideas as to what that could be. Other interesting cosmetic things hidden in the game, but the game post shared, a data mine reveals a new marathon-themed cosmetic item for Destiny 2, which is anticipated to potentially be a pre-order bonus for Marathon. So we can see a very basic model of it right here without all of the colors and textures, but it's got the UESC text down the side of it. Otherwise, it is incredibly square, but obviously it's an item which Bungie will either use as a kind of Easter egg or to hype up Marathon, or indeed as a direct pre-order bonus in Destiny 2, which could indeed once again indicate Marathon will actually get a release date at some point in the relatively near future, or essentially at some point during this episode. There's similar speculation about the new Land Beyond, the updated No Land Beyond, which is hidden in the game files, and whether that could be a pre-order bonus for Frontiers. Obviously there's some speculation there, but if we indeed did get both a Frontiers release date and pre-order option and a Marathon one this year, it could potentially mean, assuming that the timeline for Destiny content doesn't change, that we're going to get 2 Destiny expansions, as well as a possible Marathon release at some point in 2025, although obviously that could be later. Any of those releases could be, as they're not currently confirmed. Either way, it would certainly be unprecedented, so let us know your thoughts about that. For today though guys, that's what we have to speak about. If you found the video useful or enjoyable, a rating below really does help us out. Also, be sure to get subscribed to the channel so that I can keep you posted with more Destiny content. And for now, I appreciate you tuning in and hope you guys have an awesome day.